Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome everybody to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka Amana L. Bay, and I have to apologize at the outset to the people that I've sent the email addresses out to. They gave me one call-in number, and now at the last minute they switch the area code number. Instead of 505, it's 515. I'll be broadcasting that on through tonight to kind of make up for it, because this messes up pretty bad. Tonight's broadcast, the title is How the Ancient Egyptians Became Negroes and Black People. How did that happen? How did that happen? What is it? Negro, black person, African Americans, Afro-American, what happened? Where did it come from? Do the descendants of the ancient Egyptians live in America? Number one. Number two, what is a Negro? Or a black person? Or a colored person? Or African American person? Etc., etc. How long have the descendants of ancient Egyptians been in America? Who are the real original natives of this land that we call America? Who are the oldest people on this land called America? Because once we find out who that is, now we'll know who the land belongs to. How long have they been here? Is America Egypt? These are just a few of the topics that we're going to deal with here tonight. Our special guest will be Dr. Walter Williams. He'll be calling in, and I'll be broadcasting the new number throughout this evening, so we'll get it right, because they gave me the wrong number in the beginning after I paid them. The new number is 515-605-9757. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. Keep in mind that the phone lines are not open right now. I just want to make sure you got the right number, because of the great mix-up that's costing a whole nation of people dearly. And I hate to think it was done on purpose, but I wish I knew. I don't believe in no Jesus. Nothing will stop me. But 515-605-9757. That's the number to call into the broadcast, so you can listen to what we're discussing here this evening. The topic, how the ancient Egyptians became Negroes and black people. Wow. Now that's a heck of a topic. Now if you later on this evening you got something to say, press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. I will open up the phone line so you can get in. Our special guest will be Dr. Walter Williams. But before we begin, let me say something about the timing where we are right now. Number 1, grow your own food. Number 2, get out of debt. Become a secure party and creditor. Stop being a debtor and become a creditor. Contact me, TarhakaDebtElimination.org. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org. I'm going to run a few commercials, and when I come back, we'll be rolling right along. Y'all hold on a minute, hold your hat. We'll be back.
What a fantastic way to live. Hello, I'm Tarhaka Amana El Bey, operating in the private as a secured party and creditor instead of living the life of a debtor. Now, to learn how to do that, you have to get the knowledge. There's no doubt about it. You don't mix public with private, just like oil and water don't mix. For the skill and know-how, go to www.TarhakaDebtElimination.org. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Contact me, Tarhaka. My number is on the website. Or send me an email. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Learn how to live the good life as a secured party and a creditor instead of a debtor, and eliminate your debts. Fun time is almost over. TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Peace. Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to The Great Debate by Dr. Walter Williams. He single-handedly laid out the facts in this powerful debate against Mr. Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Chester Blair, a prominent lawyer in Chicago, Illinois, and Reverend Henry Hardy, a prominent minister in Chicago, and Prince Azio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. This debate was hosted by a retired policeman named W.L. Lillard. Now, the whole thing was a setup by Lillard and his gang, but it didn't work. They brought what they believed to the table, but Dr. Walter Williams brought what he knew for a fact and what he could prove and laid it on the table. We are now in the age of knowing. The age of walking around believing in stuff is over. For your copy of The Great Debate, go to TarhakaDebtElimination.org. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org, or contact me by phone. My number's on the website. Oh, and by the way, the lawyer got bust up too. The Great Debate. Get your copy today. Good day and peace. Credit card debt, student loan debt, lawsuits, child support, mortgages, foreclosure, secured party and creditor. Get my free report. Go to www.TarhakaDebtElimination.org. That's TarhakaDebtElimination.org. What kind of trust do you set up? How do you use a trust? What do you put in a trust? For the solution, contact me, Tarhaka Amana El Bey. Get my free report by going to TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Driver's license, freedom to travel. Who exactly needs a driver's license? What did the U.S. Supreme Court rule about it over and over again? How does that work? What is proper syntax grammar? Get my free report. Go to TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Fill out the little contact form, put your email address in there. That'll come straight to me, and I'll rush it directly to your email. TarhakaDebtElimination.org.
Okay, everybody, we're back. I want to start off by saying, before we get down into this broadcast, if you would remember, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our guest in. He's going to give us all of the information, and this his whatever he got to say will be totally and completely uninterrupted. He will not be interrupted. And so what we are doing is we're going to do that there, so there'll be no shadow of a doubt that he was never interrupted. So I'm pretty sure that he will not interrupt anybody else. So we're not going to allow you to interrupt him, and he's intelligent enough to extend the same courtesy. Let me go over here to area code 773. I'm going to bring in and see what's going on with this audio. Area code 773. Dr. Walter Williams, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tarhaka.
Okay, you come across loud and clear. How do I sound?
Sound loud and clear.
Okay, could you hold on 1 second, Dr. Williams? Let me do something, and I need you to answer me with that again. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now, Dr. Williams?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me on the microphone. Okay, let me see who this is. 312 area code. Area code 312, we're on the air. Tell us who you are.
Yes. Good evening, Brother Tarhaka. This is Brother Yoel from Chicago, here at the Underground Bookstore.
All right, fantastic. Y'all hold on a minute, brothers. We got a little mix-up on the call-in number. When they gave it to me, it said 505, but now, almost time for the broadcast, we got 515. So there's nothing I can do to change that. I can't go back and undo everything. I did the most critical pieces in a few minutes and got that right, but I smell a lawsuit. But anyway, we're here this evening, and the title of the broadcast is How the Ancient Egyptians Became Negroes and Black People. And I'm looking for Dr. Walter Williams to expound on that. And Dr. Williams, if you're ready, I'll yield the floor.
Well, I heard you speak about the great debate, and
yes, sir.
I'll talk about that and talk about my books that are out there for sale, The Historical Origin of Christianity and The Historical Origin of Islam. Now, the historical origin of Islam and the historical origin of Christianity are the two books that I wrote and published. The historical origin of Christianity, the subject and the thesis of that book is saying that there has never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. And the thesis of the historical origin of Islam is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form by the name of the Prophet Muhammad of the Islamic tradition. So those are my two books that I've written out. That's out the arena to be bought at your local bookstores or go online to Amazon, et cetera, or you can order my books from the Underground Bookstore that Brother Yoel owns in Chicago, Illinois. And we're going to be giving you those phone numbers where you can contact him to do just that. But now, about the Great Debate. The Great Debate was held in 1993 here in Chicago, Illinois, where I live. And it was set up for my defeat by W.L. Lillard, who is who was the host of that particular television show. It was a television show. It had live audience and so forth and so on. But anyway, on the debate was Prince Asiel ben Israel from the nation of the Black Hebrew Israelites. And the next person that was on there was Reverend Henry Hardy, who pastored a large church right here in Chicago, the Cosmopolitan Baptist Church. And then the third person that I debated on that was Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. And the fourth person that I debated on there was a lawyer by the name of Chester L. Blair. He was trying to prove that I was wrong, but I was saying that we as Africans born in the United States of America, not citizens of the United States of America due to the Constitution that was drawn up in 1787 in Washington, D.C. I'm sorry, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So he was the fourth person. And then the third person was W.L. Lillard himself. He set the whole thing up to get rid of me because I was challenging all these different religions out here, and I was challenging whether we were citizens of the United States of America. And he himself wanted to get rid of me by having all these people coming against me. And but it didn't work. So the Great Debate tape is a wonderful tape that can be purchased through Brother Tarhaka, and he gave you the contact numbers to do just that. Now, today's topic, or my subject, is how the ancient Egyptians, the world's first and oldest people on earth, civilized people, put it like that, not the world's first and oldest people, but the world's first civilized people on planet Earth, became Negroes and black people. So now let's go right into that topic. Now, civilization started in the continent of Africa. People known today as the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians are African people. From their culture and civilization came forth the rudiments of civilization for all of humanity. One has to remember that civilization, as we know it today, did not start in India, China, nor Europe. It started in the continent of Africa by African people known as the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians, I'm going to say this, the ancient Egyptians are the ancestors of the American Negro. The ancient Egyptians are the ancestors of the American Negro. So you have to take that into consideration and understand it. Now, what makes them civilized? What makes anyone civilized? What made the ancient Egyptians being the first and oldest civilized people on planet Earth is the alphabet that they created. The creation of the alphabet. That's the first thing when you learn when you go to school is your alphabet, your ABCs. And then that alphabet, you learn that alphabet, you are able to read, write, and spell. That makes you literate. It makes you a literate person. And also, I want to bring out to your attention that alphabet also has a musical scale in it. Do, re, mi, so, fa, la, ti, do. So for you musicians out there, the musical scale came from the alphabet of the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians became the world's first musicians, and the world's first musicians were women of ancient Egypt, the females of ancient Egypt. They were your first musicians. So therefore, that's what you have to really learn and realize, that our people, our African people that I'm talking about now, who brought forth civilization to the world of humanity, started there in Africa, in the continent of Africa. So let's move from that point, and we're going to go into the area where the subject that I'm bringing up tonight is based on. This subject being that the ancient Egyptians, those highly civilized Africans in Africa, brought civilization to all the humanity, including the time when they were asked to come into Spain. And when they were asked, I said A-S-K, to come into Spain, and by the uncivilized Spanish-speaking people who asked them to come into Spain to bring civilization to them. Now, this was done in 1091. Remember, the ancient Egyptians lived in Egypt, which Egypt is a country that borders the Mediterranean Sea. Going west of Egypt, you will find Libya is another country, Tunisia, another country, Algeria, another country, Morocco, another country, and Mauritania. All 6 of those countries borders the Mediterranean. Now, I'm going to remind you again, the uncivilized Spanish-speaking people asked the ancient Egyptians who lived in those countries I mentioned along the North African, facing the Mediterranean, to come to Spain to bring civilization to them. Now, this is done again in 1091. So in 1091, the African people living along in those countries I mentioned along the Mediterranean, who are ancient Egyptians, all of them, they didn't all ancient Egyptians did not live in one country called Egypt. That was a headquarters, that was a capital, that was a commonwealth that they put the rest of the countries that I just mentioned under one umbrella. So in 1091, these Spanish uncivilized people asked the ancient Egyptians to come to Spain to bring civilization to them. Now, they used the country called Morocco to do that. Why? Because of the Strait of Gibraltar. The Strait of Gibraltar extends out into the Mediterranean more so than the other countries, other 5 countries I mentioned. And with that Strait of Gibraltar, at the end of the Strait of Gibraltar, you have to take a boat and travel 8.9 miles to reach the shoreline or the shores of Spain. Once in Spain, the Spanish people called these African ancient Egyptians, called them black Moors. You see? Now, black Moors, because of their skin color. And the Moors' name was attached to them because of the land area of the country where they embarked from that country, Morocco, which Strait of Gibraltar, to come into Spain. So they were called black Moors. Okay? So let's go a little further. I'm going to go and take you into 1478. And I'm going to take you into the time of the Inquisition, the Spanish and Roman Inquisition. But before I do that, the ancient Egyptians traveled back and forth in Spain for 387 years. And these people, known as the Moors, our African ancient Egyptian ancestors, were also asked to come into Europe, into Italy, and lay out what is known as the Vatican. The Vatican, they were asked to come in, and which they did, and they began to lay out and build the second seat of Christianity, which was to be housed and headquartered in the Vatican on the outskirts of Rome, near the catacombs. So they came and they began to lay out and replicate the double-walled city of Constantinople. Constantinople is called Istanbul, Turkey today, and that's where the world's first and oldest Christian church was built, called the Church of Hagia Sophia, built in 532, finished in December 27, 537. So they are now in Rome, on the outskirts of Rome, building this and laying out the Vatican. The Vatican today is only a replica of the double-walled city in Constantinople, and it's only a replica of the world's first Christian church that was built in Africa, in northeast Africa, misnomer today and called the Middle East. So they stayed over there, and they built not only the St. Peter's Church, called St. Peter's Basilica today, while in while in Rome, and they also built the Sistine Chapel, for where the Pope and other dignitaries live. And they were over there for 33 years doing just that, until the time of the Spanish Inquisition came about. The Spanish Inquisition came about in 1478. That was set in place by Ferdinand and Isabella to get rid of the Moors out of Spain and out of the Vatican. It's called the Spanish and Roman Inquisition. Roman means the Roman Catholic Church. So they had used the ancient Egyptians as much as they could use them, got whatever they wanted out of them. So now it's time to get rid of them, to erase any evidence that they've been there in world history. And they have done that, and evidence of that can be seen at this very moment. So in 1478 came the Spanish and Roman Inquisition. They began to expel these Africans known as the Black Moors, which is a nickname given to our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, by the Spanish-speaking people. Now, they began to expel them out of Spain and the Vatican, and they went into parts of Europe. Some went into Europe. Some went back into the North African countries that I mentioned that borders the Mediterranean. Some went into Mali. Some came over here in the United States of America on a ship that was owned by a ship owner by the name of Christopher Columbus. So in 1492, they landed, long story short, they landed on the shores of the United States, what we know today as the United States of America. So, on that ship was Moors that was expelled out of Spain. And while over here in this hemisphere, the Moors, those Africans, or descendants of the ancient Egyptians, set up the third civilization for humanity over in this hemisphere. That was in 1492. So now, let's go and start at this point, 1492, until the advent of slavery, 1619. There's a 127-year gap in there that nobody is talking about. I don't hear none of the historians in our African community talk about it, or do I hear any other historians in any other racial communities talk about it? But there's a 127-year gap that needs to be fulfilled, and need to be talked about where you can understand how you got in this country, how we got in this country. In fact, we were already here with the indigenous American Indian before Christopher Columbus came over in 1492. Christopher Columbus discovered America for white people because the indigenous Native American Indian and the African was already here. So he didn't discover America. America was not lost. So he discovered America for white people. That should be brought out. Now, so once that happened, and slavery was set in place, 1619, one should remember this. Once these Africans, known as the ancient Egyptians, were put under one umbrella with the other enslaved humans that they were taken out of Africa to bring over here in this hemisphere to be put into slavery. Okay? So they put the ancient Egyptians, this is how they got rid of the ancient Egyptians once and for all. They put the ancient Egyptians and the enslaved Africans that they brought out of Africa to be put into slavery in this country. And he put them under one umbrella and called them Negros. So, under that one umbrella of Negros, that is how they got to be, that's how they got to be disconnected from their ancient Egyptian ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. Now, once that happened, a new African was created. Brand new African was born. An African that is called Negro, and Negro in Spanish means black, synonymous. So if you say I'm black, you're saying you're Negro. If you say you're a Negro, you're saying you're black. So here, in 1619, this ancient Egyptian was turned to a Negro with the other humans that they brought out of Africa to be put into slavery in this country. This Negro did not have a land in Africa to identify with. He did not have a language to identify with. And at that point, he did not have a culture to identify with. So he is now a new African called Negro. And this is how the ancient Egyptians became the Negro and black people. So that's what I would have to say about that. Brother Tarhaka? Brother Tarhaka?
Okay, you couldn't hear me with my headset on. I gotta get me some more. It's all messed up. I've been slamming them all up against the wall and all kind of stuff doing the broadcast. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, let me open up Brother Yoel's line, and I'll let him in and see what we got to say before we move forward. Brother Yoel, are we ready, man?
We ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You wanna weigh in on what the Dr. Williams has already told us, because it made perfect sense, a good sense to me. And as far as I'm concerned, that is exactly what happened. And before you elaborate, let me tell you why. Now, here, recently we have decided to create a curriculum, a college curriculum. In order to do that, we have to go back and we have to ferret out the truth. Now, this is for our people only on this earth. And we're dealing with science. We're dealing with our ancient story. We're also dealing with a thing called history. We're dealing with geography. We're dealing with geometry, mathematics, astronomy, astrology. We're dealing with migration. We're dealing with individual countries. We're going in the countries, getting all and ferreting out all the information about these countries on the African continent, the American continent, South America, Australia, Europe, the whole nine, in order to create this curriculum. And what we are finding out is, just like Dr. Williams said, he's absolutely correct, because we start dealing with, when we got the mathematics and geography and land, volcanoes, earthquakes, all that stuff there. All those recorded, we got it down so we can teach it. However, what we're finding out is our people. See, I'm not in Africa. Our people has been on this land in excess of 250,000 years, the original inhabitants of the land. Now we got people that's been classified as the Native Americans, Native Indians, and all that. They've only been here for about 10 or 12,000 years. However, what Dr. Williams just said is what they done is they took us and the Africans that they enslaved and brought here to this land, and they mixed us all together and classified us as Negros. That's exactly what they have done. And I've just spent, for the past week, I think I've spent maybe at least 58 hours of investigation on this kind of thing, and it comes up to exactly what he just said. He's absolutely correct. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I want you to weigh in, and then, because I got something else I want to say, but go ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay. Well, sounds like, to me, y'all present the case for that Brother Malcolm said a long time ago, you've been bamboozled, you've been hoodwinked, you've been had. So it looks like somebody's played a very big, large conspiratorial game on us. That's what it sounds like to me. And with all that is happening and going on right now and everything that's lining up with what you're talking about, it makes sense. But now it's unraveling right now because of the times we're in. And I guess it was not meant to unravel before now, because when you think about how astrology plays into it, what did you say? You said that we are in a time of knowing.
Yes.
Earlier you said this is the time for you to know. Well, it's the information age, and the information would give you the knowing that you need to know who you are, where you come from, and all of that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me, that if you pay attention to all that stuff, even prophecies that have been foretold in different cultures foretell of this time and the time that we are going through right now. So everything seems to be in order, except for the people who know who this whole thing is about don't know who they are or where they come from. So it seems like those people who have been coordinating and manipulating behind the scenes on this thing has really did a very good job of keeping us in the dark or pulling the wool over our eyes and doing the old sleight of hand things and switching things around and making us now believe that we are something other than what we are. That's what it sounds like to me, Brother Tarhaka. So, you know, but ironically, in the last 2 to 3 weeks or more, I've been hearing a lot of information that has been coming out that is verifying what we're talking about today, because it seems to be pouring out right now. The amount of information that's being disseminated right now through different sources, and even through some of the sources he set out to trap us with, like his internet. So it's coming out from all over the world, information about us and how magnificent and how great and how much kind of gods we were and who we came from and stuff like this. So this is a very interesting time we live in right now. It's a very critical time right now, but it's also a very interesting time we're living in right now. So that's kind of what I like to start out by saying, talking about this subject of how the Egyptians became the Negroes, black and colored and African American, which are all brand names or all names that people have put on us, or descriptions people have put on us, but we have not put on ourselves. So it is time now, in my opinion, then to take back the power to define out of the hands of the adversary, those people who have been defining us for us. And so now it is time for us to step up to the plate and define who we are ourselves, and now no longer let those people define for us who we are. So that's kind of what I like to say, Brother Tarhaka.
Okay. This thing here is very, very serious. I'm going to bring in Dr. Williams again in a minute, because I got a plug that's going to verify what I'm saying. Donald Trump, he came out and said he's going to close off the borders. And, of course, when they got him out the way, Biden come in and said, well, we're just going to open up the border. And one thing I found out a long time ago, and it's hush-hush, when people come in this country, if they come in here from Africa, if they come in here from Europe or any what it is, no matter where they come from, especially if they are light-skinned people, these people are classified as white. Now, what that means is they are going to allow them to benefit from the privileges and all this kind of stuff. But me, I'm classified as black. You see what I'm saying? Now, to get my point, the strength of my point, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. And this guy here, he's fighting. He said he's prepared to go all the way to the Supreme Court, because he came in the United States and said, "I am," and he's a brother, got a fro and all. He says, "I'm an Egyptian." He said, my daddy was black, and my mother, he said, I think he said she was Greek or something else, but he said, "I'm Egyptian now." Well, white folks told him at the border, said, "Well, look, we got to classify you as white." He said, No. He said, "I'm black. You know, don't put that down there, because that's not me. I'm not trying to go along with the okie-doke and all of right here." And they keep in mind, this guy, he had clawed his way up to become a professor in college, and they threatened his career and all this right here, and he had to file a lawsuit, and they're battling in the court. It's amazing, man. So before I bring Dr. Walter Williams in, I'm going to run this little plug so you hear what I'm talking about. I want you to listen to this guy, man. Here we go.
I am a black Egyptian. My father is much darker than I am. My mother is lighter than I am. In Egypt, people are identified by the religion first, not the race. So in Egypt, if you are Christian, you are a minority person. But if you're black, you're not a minority person. You are a part of the mainstream society. And I came from this background. And in Egypt, you identify as Arab and as Muslim. And in this country, when I first came, I identified myself as Arab American and Muslim first. And gradually, I became to identify myself as black. I came to the U.S. in 1978, and I became a U.S. citizen in 1985. When I became a U.S. resident, I was told by the Immigration and Naturalization that I am white. And I told them that I'm black, and they said, no, in this country, you are white. All Arabs in this country, all Arab immigrants are white. I didn't pay much attention in the beginning to this, because in the Arab world, we identify with our ethnicity first as Arabs, and then with the race second as black or white or whatever. But in this country, you identify with your racial group first and then with your ethnicity second. Gradually, I became black first and Arab second. And I rejected my white classification publicly for the first time in 1987, in February, as a panelist in a function sponsored by the Association of the Study of Black Life and History in Detroit. I said that I belong to two minority groups. I am Arab American and Black American, and I am racially black and ethnically Egyptian. I was harassed by my employer right after that. I work for a white school district. The superintendent is white. All the associate superintendents are white, even though that we provide services to 30% black population. But the organization is white and the approach is very white. The attitude towards me changed completely after I went out publicly and rejected my white classification. One coworker came to me and told me, a white coworker came to me and told me right after the function that he met with the superintendent, and if I don't keep my mouth shut, my educational career is over. He said, you have nothing to do with these people, you have a history and a culture. These people came from the jungle, you have nothing to do with them. These people lie and steal. When I see one of them in my neighborhood, I call the police. And I was told by the director of general education, who is retired now, in 88, I was told by him that I get people angry when I say that I'm black Egyptian. If I just say that I'm Egyptian, I would get along. I have to add that I was denied promotion twice because I chose black classification. This is part of my 2 lawsuits against my employer, which are currently pending. 2 lawsuits.
Now, just for the education of our viewership, why don't you share with us a breakdown of Egypt as it is today, insofar as blacks or combinations thereof of European descent and what have you?
We don't have Egyptians of European descent in Egypt. We have a population which is basically which is basically a mixture of ancient Egyptian blacks who intermarried with Arabs right after the Arab conquest. The ancient Egyptian population was brown and black before the Arab conquest. But before the Arab conquest came the Greeks. It was the ancient Egyptian population was in Egypt for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptian population was brown and black, and the Greeks came in 300 BC, and they started to intermarry with the local population, and then the Romans came and ruled from 70 BC until they were conquered by the Arabs and kicked out by the Arabs in the 7th century. And these people intermarried with the Egyptian Copts, and they made the pigmentation of the Egyptians, the Copts, much lighter because of this intermarriage with Europeans.
Now, you're an educator, okay? Now, how do you deal with situations when you practice your profession insofar as dealing with the mythology or the misconceptions about Egypt being a white civilization? How do you deal with that?
This is a big problem because Egypt, the ancient Egyptian civilization was a black civilization, and ancient Egyptians were black according to the Greek scholars and the Roman scholars. Ancient Egypt became white only in the 19th century and in the 20th century. And the scholar who is responsible for this is Seligman, the noted anthropologist from England, Seligman. White supremacy argues that blacks are inferior than white intellectually. They are subhuman and they are incapable of building a civilization. White supremacy had one dilemma until Seligman came. The dilemma was ancient Egypt was black according to the Greek and the Roman scholars. 10 of them said that, including Aristotle and Plato. 10 of them said that in writing. They had this dilemma. Ancient Egyptian was black. So if blacks are inferior intellectually and are incapable of building a civilization, how come the ancient Egyptians built a civilization? Seligman found the solution for this dilemma. He came up with a theory called the Hamite theory. He separated the blacks who built a civilization in Egypt and Ethiopia from the rest of the black race, and he called them brown-skinned whites, or the Hamites. So Seligman saved white supremacy from this dilemma, and all the white scholars followed him from that time on. This was at the end of the 19th century. And since that time, white scholarship says that ancient Egypt is white.
Mustafa Hefni is currently working on his doctorate degree at Wayne State University. His dissertation topic is a content analysis of the treatment of ancient Egypt in world history textbooks. And just how far is this determined Egyptian willing to go to be classified black?
I want to carry my case all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary.
All right, we back. I'm going to open up Dr. Williams' line. Dr. Walter Williams, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tarhaka.
You ever heard that guy before? You ever heard of him? What'd you think about it?
I know him personally, Mustafa
Okay.
Hefni. Huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah. He came to my museum in 92, I believe, 92, 93. Mustafa Hefni. He came there with the same complaint about Africans who lived in the continent of Africa in Egypt, in the country called Egypt, are classified as being white. And that's true. Let me give you an experience that I had. My wife and I got married in Orlando, Florida. And my deceased wife, I'm talking about, Netta. And on the application for marriage, they put down that, what race are you, Negro, white, or other? So we put other, and we put down that we were African ancient Egyptian. Mm-hmm. Now, when they issued the marriage license, they put on there that we were white. Okay, and so what is happening with that scenario is this: Egypt is occupied by Arabs, white Arabs, and also with white Europeans. So therefore, they try to erase the actual indigenous occupant of Egypt by trying to erase the knowledge in the minds of the world populace that the ancient Egyptians, the one that built the Great Pyramid, the one that brought forth civilization to all of humanity, the one who brought literacy to the world, the one who built the Great Sphinx, and so forth and so on, were not Africans. They are trying to erase anything in Egypt or any achievement that has been accomplished in Egypt. They're trying to erase any evidence that the ancient Egyptians are, I didn't say a word, African. They still are African. Because we living in this hemisphere are the descendants of those great, grand, and glorious people. So that's the reason why I insist that we find our way back to ancient Egypt. Bypass all these stumbling blocks that's out here, these various religions, so forth and so on, and find your way back at this very moment to ancient Egypt and claim ancient Egypt and the ancient Egyptians. See? So that's all you have to do. Now, I don't have to prove to the world that the ancient Egyptians are African people. I didn't say we're African people, but still are African people. They left us art to do that. Okay, they left us art and literature. Now you take the body of the Sphinx that was created by the ancient Egyptians. The body of the Sphinx is one city block long, 6 stories high, with an African face carved in stone. That's letting you know that who they are. I didn't say a word, but who they are. And they built the world's first and greatest edifice that's ever been built by man, and that's the Great Pyramid, going from the ground to 490 feet high until 10 feet was knocked off at the very tip. So now it's 480 feet high at this moment that I'm talking. That great monument is carried in your wallets, pocketbooks, and purses every day on the dollar bill. On that dollar bill, you will find the replica and the picture of the greatest monument that's ever been built by man, the Great Pyramid. On that dollar bill also, and all other American currency, you find the eagle that came out of ancient Egypt to depict Horus of the Tarhaka. And so you got to also remember that this country that we know as the United States of America is only a replica. They tried to make it a replica of ancient Egypt. If you get a book by Anthony Browder called Egypt on the Potomac, and he shows you all the monuments, artifacts that's throughout Washington, D.C. to show you what they, the Europeans over here, have done by trying to replicate ancient Egypt. Okay. At the same time, destroying the minds of the ancient Egyptian descendants, the American Negro. So, yes, I agree with Mustafa Hesney for stating that he is listed, even though he's an African, that he is listed as being white, because they want, when you look in Egypt, you see nothing but white faces. There's a Nubian population over there, but they don't show them. They show all white over there. And so I agree with what he's saying, that they're trying take Egypt and make it a white country. So I don't have to prove,
Dr. Will.
I don't have to prove to nobody that I or my ancestors who brought civilization in this world, known today in history as the ancient Egyptians, are African people. Not were African people, but still are African people. They left us art to do just that, and monuments to do just that. So that's what I have to say to that, Brother Tarhaka.
Okay. Brother Yoel.
Yes, sir.
Come on in here and kick this bucket, man. Kick the can.
Hello.
Me and Dr. Williams kicked it in your time to kick it.
Okay. Well, that reminds me of, this kind of reminds me of a book that I read by a white boy named Hilton Hotima. And the name of his book was Egypt, Land of Light. And in the book, he describes, he begins to describe the land of Egypt and the beauty there, the land, what the land looked like, and the art or the structures there and all this. And he talked about how magnificent it was. But then he ended up by saying, but this couldn't have been done by the native Egyptian. And so this is a guy who's saying this place is a land of light, but he would not give you credit, would not give the original people or the natives of Egypt credit for creating it and making it that land of light. So there's a big conspiracy going on here, and to all those people who I run into on a regular basis, so talking about you a conspiracy theorist, and as if they don't believe in conspiracies, I say they've been had, they've been hoodwinked, and they're regurgitating what the European wants them to regurgitate. That if you were conspiracy theorists, then you nuts, you crazy, something wrong with you, and all of that. And so it's something that they themselves need to reflect on themselves and take a look at what they are rejecting, because they clearly need to believe in conspiracies too, because there's obviously one big old conspiracy here, and it's against us as a people. So the brother was insisting on, he said he was going to take his thing to the Supreme Court if he has to. That was a Nigerian guy who got a little upset years ago too by coming into the country, and they labeled him white too. And he went public and said that he wasn't white. So, they're not going along with their games. And that's a part of unraveling or dismantling all of this foolishness that they've been created here. And it's a sign of that time is up, And so, therefore, going back to the astrology thing, the prophecies, that we're living them right now. We're living in those times, and this stuff is coming apart. So that's what I say.
All right. Well, Brother Yoel and Dr. Williams, let me bring you y'all into how I see this thing. After a careful examination and a thorough examination for years of the African shaman Credo Mudawa in this interview with
Credo Mudawa,
David Icke on the reptilian agenda, I was able to get that piece there and putting all the pieces together from Zimbabwe, East Africa, South Africa, all in between Timbuktu, the whole nine. he said that everywhere you seen was not green, and all the people on the planet look like us. There's no such thing as a Chinese, a Japanese, a Korean, a white person, none of just us. But he said these things came. Now, my question at this point was, hold it right there, came from where? Well, they came from space. Now, okay, if they came from space, did they go anywhere else before they got to you? Because we follow a narrative that's been given to us by someone else that's saying that all life forms on this planet stems from the continent of Africa. Now, I'm not trying to rock the boat. I know Africa as a continent is anchored in the ground and all the other continents float away from it. But I am still cognizant of the fact that before this drifting occurred, what if there were other people on other continents that was us before they got to Africa? Because if you came here, right down there in South America, and you dug up a skull for over 250,000 years ago, that outdated so-called Indians and Native Americans, it has been over 12,000 years now. You done swept the rug in the dust in my face and gave these people credit for being the natives of the land and going to give them all kind of blessings and all kind of, reparations and all that, and attack me. So that means that based on the horrificness of the attack against my people on this land and everywhere else on earth that we go, that must mean that we have always been here, and this is our land. That would explain to me the attack. Now, when you start going from a premise of everything came from Africa, I have to listen to what you got to say, and I have to ask questions about, okay, if everything came from Africa, so that means that all other lands on the planet had no inhabitants. I have to disagree with that. I have to. I don't have any choice. I have to disagree with that. There's no record in our family tree that we ever came from Africa. Now, they kidnapped my grandfather in this country and sold him into slavery, and he escaped. And I've spent a whole lot of money, a whole lot of time, a whole lot of travel and all that, trying to find the people who done it. Can't find them. Nevertheless, that's my position on this right here. And I'm opening up Dr. Williams' line, and before I go on to the next plug, because I want to elaborate on this and stuff too. Because what we got to do, in my opinion, we got to get down here on this continent and find out what happened here in ancient times and go from there. But let me bring him back in. Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Okay, you still with us? I'm about to go in to the next plug, but I want to ask you one more question about this great debate thing.
Okay.
This is my question. After this thing was all over, when you did the great debate, did you hear anything else from the attorney Blair? Did you hear anything else from him after that broadcast? Just him, because he's an attorney. He's trying to shake it up. Did you hear anything else from this guy?
No, I haven't heard anything from him after that debate we had, because I shut him down after the debate. He had to admit that we were not citizens of this country.
Okay.
Even though he
admitted that on the air, or did he tell you that in private?
I think he told me that in private. But anyway, he could have. I haven't looked at the great debate for some time now, so he could have told me on the air. But anyway, I broke it down to him where he couldn't deny. See, a lawyer takes an oath at the Bar Association to become a lawyer, and he that oath that he takes, he is sworn to defend the Constitution, you see. So when I broke it down to him and gave him the evidence as to why we're not citizens of the United States, never will be citizens of the United States of America, I gave him all the facts and evidence based on what I had to tell him. So he had to admit that I was right. But anyway, that's will be my answer to you about Cheshire Blair, the lawyer.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna announce the number to call in. We're about ready, almost ready to open up the phone lines. The number to call in is 515-605-9757. That's 515-605-9757. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication you got something to say. I've been after the next plug that I'm going to run. I've been after this guy, and he's a very, very busy man, and I mean, everybody had him on the show. But he did a total in-depth research on the Egyptians in America. And he wrote a book. The title of the book is called When Rocks Cry Out. His name is Horace Butler. And he went in depth on this thing, and I only was able to get a small plug of what he had to say. You have to read the book or listen to him in full, and I can't put all these hours on this, on this thing to get down here and do what we got to do. So I'm going to run this right here, and I want y'all to get your break, get you some water or whatever, and come back and listen to this and thing else. I'm going to run that there, and we'll come back and we'll go forward. Okay? Y'all hold on a minute.
Pyramid on the Nile in Northeast Africa doesn't have stair steps going up it. It doesn't have temples on top of its summits. They could not go and break through the boat on the temples atop those great pyramids. There are none there. And that was the clue that Egypt was writing about the Americas. And the deeper I got into the records, the clearer it got. They started actually saying, and because Amun loved that land so much, he said it's his beloved land, and that word was Mary, the beloved, Mary, M-E-R-I, Mary. And the land, of course, as before, is Ta. So you have the land, the beloved land, Ta Mary. And they kept that name and just put the Ta on the end of it, so Ta Mary became a Mary Ta. We simply say America. We kept the name that Egypt gave to the Americas. So that was the big mystery behind that $10 million map that Martin Waldseemüller made and then put the name America on it in 1507. And then those who knew and those who were trying to hide things said, wait a minute, you can't put that name on here. And the next time he reprinted that map, it was off. It was gone. Because that's the name that Egypt had given the land, Tamari. That's where America came from. So now I have Egypt writing about the Americas, but they go further. They don't just talk about we named the Americas. They said where it was. They said our founders, Amun-Dem, Osiris, Isis, all of these. Of course, they use those other names, you know, the Asa and the Asat. And so they said they are in the West. And all over the monuments, they talked about Osiris and said he is foremost of the Westerners, which means not in the front of. He was the most worshipped throughout in the West. And not just his dead spirit, they were talking about the man himself being in the West. So now I have those records. And the deeper I got, the clearer it became, and then I started locating the cities all through the Americas, and not North America. Egypt says, man, those, they didn't call them Indians, but they said their cavalry is just so strong. They have bow and arrow cavalry. They are on horseback, and they are so strong, it's just devastating to us to try to take that land. So I tell you what, we're going to cut it right off at that river, and that's why all these pyramids are showing up from Mexico going down south, because those Apaches and Comanches and whatever other tribes were there, black tribes and others, were whooping Egypt something fierce. They did leave the record, though, that Osiris got as far as Washington, D.C. He said, I got to this land, and in this land in the north, I got to the place of the river with the largest, widest mouth. And I immediately ran to the Mississippi. I started looking around trying to see, well, where is he? I'm trying to see where Osiris is. I see that city called Baton Rouge. I know that's talking about, it's got Aton's name in it, A-T-O-N, Baton Rouge. I know that's red, and I'm looking at it. It kind of sounds like it might be an Egypt connection. I'm looking for it, but that was wrong. They said, no, when you get to that place, that's Pataline. That's an island. That's a large island. Doesn't matter, ain't no island here called no Pataline. And then understanding comes in and says, wait a minute, look at the map again. See where the Mississippi River splits, and one goes over toward New Orleans and the other one goes down toward Alexandria? I said, well, yeah. I said, well, you know, when you have a Mississippi River that splits in two, then the land between those two rivers is an island, because on the south side of it is the Gulf of Mexico. All that land is an island. I was like, oh, man, here's Pataline. But he says, but that's not where I went to. He said, that's not the river I'm talking about. He said, this one has a huge mouth. And then I looked further up, and there it was. There's the Potomac and all of those waterways coming together, the Chesapeake, and making this huge mouth to this river before it empties into the Atlantic. And they say, when you get to that place, there's going to be a city designed, laid out in the shape of a parallelogram, which is like a rectangle, square. And dadgummit, if they didn't lay out Washington, D.C. in the exact same configuration that ancient Egypt said that city would be in. And then they stuck an obelisk there. Egypt wrote about that. They just said it was too hard to keep control of that land with that very strong horseback army of bow and arrow shooting warriors. So then we go down toward the south. It's okay, we have the northern extent, let's go south. And we went through Central America, and I saw the cities there. And it will surprise you to know that Egypt actually built this city that we call Troy. Troy is in Central America. If you don't know the history of it before they start calling it Troy, you will never find it probably. But when Egypt wrote about it, they actually called it with those same letters. One word was T-R-W, Troy. But they said, well, we have another name for that city. We call it Kuban, K-U-B-B-A-N. It means the hidden city, because Troy is way up from the water at a time where cities, major cities, were being placed on the waterway, because that's how commerce was being conducted, by ship. Troy was not. Troy was up in the rainforest, way up in the mountains, hidden. And so Egypt called it Kuban, the hidden city. And I'm going to give you something I've never told anybody other than close associates. You want to find Troy? You go find the city that Egypt says its name is Kuban. And you'll find this Maya city called C-O-P-A-N, Copan. And there you will have ancient Troy. That's the African city, Troy. So you go further south. You go through Central America. Then you go into South America. I'm looking for Thebes now. I've got Memphis, but they said Thebes is Thebes of the West. That's how they wrote it. Thebes of the West. I want to know where it is. And I found it. And the great thing about it is Thebes of the West is the city that David took. That's Jerusalem. It was built to honor the ancient Egyptian ruler, co-founder, the one that most of your listeners will probably recognize as Heru, that others call Horus. The city was built to honor him, and it was laid out in the shape of the hieroglyphic symbol that is his name, when you look in the ancient hieroglyphs that these Africans that we now call Egyptians left, when they wrote the name Heru, it's the hawk in profile, the entire body with the wings on the side. That gives you the word H-E-R-U, or Heru. And they laid out the city in that design. It's still there right now today. When you fly above and look down, there is that hawk laid out on the ground, the walls, the streets, the temples, everything that they had laid that they have knocked down, but the foundations are still there. It shows you the outline of the name of the city. It was ancient Egypt or ancient Africa's Heru. Now, they built a temple there to honor Heru. And some of the listeners and readers will know that one of the words that ancient Egypt used for temple was per, like a rectangle with an opening in it, almost like a house or a temple. And it was per, P-R, or P-E-R. And so when they have that temple there and they're talking about that place where this famous temple of Heru is, they would say the temple of Heru or Peheru. And so now we don't say Peheru, we simply say Peru. It's that simple. It's that clear. It's been standing in front of our eyes this entire time. But as long as you let others educate you and tell you what a thing means and you don't test it, you keep teaching the same errors. And that's what was going on. They were getting some knowledge, but they were teaching the errors with the knowledge that they were getting. The Egyptologists knew, but they knew that they were going to hide those Africans. They were going to hide that this was an African civilization because they were trying to justify blacks as being inhuman so that they could make wealth off of them as slaves. And you couldn't say that they were inhuman and uncultivated if you show them with these civilizations. So they distanced them. They divorced the Africans from the Egyptian histories, or they attempted to. When they came into the Americas in the 1500s, supposedly stumbling upon it with Columbus, you have to understand Columbus had just returned from West Africa. He had the maps. The same ones that had come over and became what we now call Aztecs, and they hated that. That was a derogatory term. It meant that they worshiped the pagan deity Sutek that ancient Egypt writes about. So if you're of something, you are a something. You are of it. So they were Asutecs or Aztecs. They said, no, we're Christians, we're Muslims, and there are others among us who do worship the traditional beliefs. But they were in a mode of trying to show them as being uncultured and uncivilized. So they knew, when they came in the 1500s, they knew where they were. They knew this was Egypt. You find this strange letter in Spain where they're having the wars against the blacks who are now running Spain wars, and they didn't lose that until 1492. And when they defeated those Moors, then they said, now we can go and fight the war against the blacks over in the Americas, but not until we whoop the ones that's on our doorstep or we're on their doorstep. So that's the history that's unfolding. They knew that the Holy Lands were over here. The Vatican knew. And they sent it over to destroy these churches and these people so that the Vatican could be the head of the churches by destroying the other 11 that was in the Americas. And Spain had the right to come in and start trying to get the commerce to become rich off of the gold and the other things in the African cities and with the slaves.
Okay, we're back. That was Brother Horace Butler, author of When Rocks Cry Out. I recommend that you get that book. I've read it quite a while ago, but to get the gist and the total understanding and explanation of what he's trying to say, I think it's worth listening to. But in the meantime, I'm going to open up my phone lines. The number to dial into the broadcast is 515-605-9757. That's 515-605-9757. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. Let me open up Dr. Williams' line, and then I'll go down to Dr. Ewell. Dr. Williams, what you think about what that brother said?
I don't think anything about it. I think it's confusion.
You think it's confusion?
Yes, there's a lot of misinformation there.
Okay. All right. Well, hold on 1 second. Let me go down here to Brother Ewell and bring his line in. Okay, Brother Ewell. What you think? Horace Butler, When Rocks Cry.
I think that he brings to the table something new, and something that is would be considered food for thought and grounds for further investigation. But now what he said about Haru makes a lot of sense, because he wrote a book. There's a book written by a guy named James Redfield, and it's called Celestine Prophecy. And what we don't know is that we got a lot of history down in South America that we ain't even touched on yet. He brings, and in his book, he brings out the fact that there were some scrolls or prophecies that were written on scrolls, 8 scrolls, and they was looking for the 9th scroll of prophecies that are to come. And in the book, he goes on to say that this was set up during the time of the Spanish land grant by the Moors. So that kind of connects with what this guy is talking about here. And they even made a movie off of it, actually. But it's a very interesting piece, and and until you played that, you kind of open up something more to add to what I had already, and I think it's something that needs to be investigated, because this might be bigger than what we thought, and it appears that it is, so that's what I think.
Okay. Now, the way I have looked at this thing is because a lot of people, when they deal with history, they forget that they are dealing with his story. So I separate history from our story. And I also, when it comes to dealing with trying to gain some information and trying to come to a conclusion and talking about putting the pieces of the puzzle together, before I do that, the first puzzle that I put together is I put the whole earth together, globally. Just put the earth together, put the continents together before the drift and all that. Get rid of the ice age, put the land bridges back and all that, and then I'm ready to begin. And we have been doing that in our curriculum with what we're dealing with now. We done been down in the Amazon basin. We're going to be down in there for months. As far as the Gibraltar and the land bridge, because I was very much interested in the monkeys on Gibraltar and the monkeys in Africa, and then they began talking about the land bridge that was there before the ocean came up in there and separated, the land separated or what have you. And that made a whole lot of sense to me, because it was identical. And the only thing was missing was the original people. Of course, we know in a lot of cases they were murdered what have you. Then we got down in Australia. We'd be down in there in months. And but I began only when I put the map of the whole thing together. And all this about the Egyptians sailing on boats coming to America. And we know that the continent that we call Africa is hundreds of thousands of years old. And I know somebody had to think of something long time ago, probably before a boat was ever created. So we have people coming across land bridges, and all this has been wiped out of history, then they out of his story, and then we want to totally overlook the fact that there were giants on the land. That's wiped out. That's taboo. And the Smithsonian Institute come in and grab the bones and take it down. You don't see it no more. Maintaining the stranglehold on knowledge, so you cannot put the whole puzzle together and come into the knowledge of what really happened and all this stuff right here. Now, as far as the Brother Horace Butler is concerned, I have his book. I've read his book, and it's very, very interesting and intriguing to me. It gives me an answer to a whole lot of questions, but we still have a whole long ways to go. And before I go into anything else, I'm going to bring Dr. Williams in, and then we can move forward on what we're doing here tonight, about how the ancient Egyptians became Negroes and black people. That's the main topic, so that's where we at. Dr. Williams, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tarhaka.
All right, you want to add anything else?
Well, like I said before, I don't agree with the Horace Butler. It's too much,
okay.
Which is okay. I can disagree with him, and you have a right to agree with him, that's your prerogative. But I'm saying I don't agree with him.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that he's wrong, because I don't agree with him. But there's a lot of confusion there, like I said before. And he's not. I like to go to the point, okay, without bringing any symbolism in it. Go to the point.
Okay.
Who brought civilization to all of humanity, regardless of what Europeans don't have anything to do with civilization, okay? They have came
well, you're right.
on this earth to destroy civilization and the people who brought civilization to this planet that we call Earth, and that is us, Africans. They came here to destroy us. So therefore, what they have to say is nothing that I could use or would use unless they give me some tools to prove my point about them. Okay? So therefore, I can't agree with Horace Butler on a whole lot of things. There's a lot of confusion there. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, we got another caller with his hand raised at area code 312. I'm going to bring him in. Area code 312, you're on the air. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment. Area 312, come on in. Okay, they call drop, so I guess they'll call back. The number to dial into the broadcast is 515-605-9757. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication you got something to say, and open up the phone line so you can get in. 515-605-9757. Okay, hold on. Here we are right here. Area code 312. Come on in.
Hello, Hotep family, Hotep.
Hotep.
My name is Lou.
Tell us who you are. Where you calling from?
My name is Lou. I'm from Chicago.
Okay, come on, Lou.
Thank you for having this broadcast, and good to hear your voice again, Baba Williams.
Thank you.
As always, it's wonderful to hear the knowledge that you give to us. You are a wealth of information that we need to hear, definitely. One question. Now, I've read references that the Twa Mbuti traveled all over Pangaea, excuse me, before the continental shift. Now, scientifically, if the continental shifts occurred gradually over thousands of years, and new waterways would come in to separate landmass, isn't it conceivable that whole colonies and or civilizations of people would have been somewhat isolated, and not so much isolated, but they would have been harder to get back to where they came from, in reference to the migrations out of Africa. Therefore, there's a possibility that there were Africans that came here to this landmass that we now know as North America and South America, became isolated, and will become the Olmec peoples, and possibly up to 250,000 years ago, which would show the similarities in the writing styles, the building styles. And then when boats came in, the interconnecting of the people would reinforce that. Isn't that possibly conceivable?
Well, yes, it is. You're absolutely correct. My position is that prior to an ice age, continental drift, or any of that, my position is there were people all over the planet, including Africa, including America, including South America, including the Philippines, including Australia, including China, including Japan, and all of them look like me. That's I agree. Okay, now, the next question is, who told us that there was an ice age? And who told us there was something called a continental drift? Who? Because you see what I'm trying to, you see where I'm going. If we...
Yeah, I see where you're going. And the problem with where you're going is that there's no written history. It is what you're going on. But we do have scientific data. If you're going to ignore the scientific evidence of a continental drift, that Africa, I heard when you said Africa is the only continent still rooted to the center of the planet. That is the truth. We use science to prove that. You can't take the science that prove Africa is the mother or the root continent and then throw out continental drift and ice age. I mean, because all of that goes hand in hand. That's the evolution or the time span of this planet.
Well, according to who?
Ago, according to science. According to science.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. It's not... Go ahead.
Who's science?
The same
Our science. If we the oldest people on the planet, are you telling me about our science? Are you telling me about some other nation that came in and said it was science? That's all I'm asking.
No, I'm talking about
There's no
our
debate
science.
here now.
No
Okay,
debate, sir. I'm using our science. Our science which is our story. However, what has happened over time is that the European or Caucasoid or Amu or Dev or whatever you want to call them, because we taught them and because they were too stupid to really get the pure concepts of it, they twisted it and renamed it and made it theirs. But even theirs verify what ours is, that there was one place that humankind came down or came to or came from. We could argue the semantics of direction, but the fact that it happened, we can't argue because it did occur. Same way we could talk about Pangaea, the motherland, and then say, well, what happened to Pangaea? Well, did it disappear? Because now on this globe we only have six continents, because Europe isn't a continent. So we only have 6 continents. Why don't we have one mother continent? Well, things happen. We do know earthquakes occur and land splits. And where land splits, water will pool into those splits, because our science says that water seeks its own level. So if there's a low point and it rains, the water's going to collect in those low points and then create, over a period of time, ponds, rivers, lakes, and oceans, which would separate land masses. My point is the continent that we call the Atlantis, I don't believe it ever sunk. It was just that the oceans rose up enough because our science also did say we've had extinction level events. We've had ice ages. Our ancestors in Kush recorded that. So we can't, you see what I'm saying? We can't throw out all of the sciences, especially those that verify what our ancestors taught over, over 100,000 years ago.
Okay, well, I have to check, because a lot of people that I talk to, they come and say, well, you know, the last ice age. And who told you that? Well, history, who history? Right? You better say the right people. Let me open up our Dr. Williams line and get in on it and weigh in on it. Don't you go nowhere. Hold on a minute, man.
All right, sir.
Dr. Williams, you want to elaborate on what the brother just said?
Well, I'm going to set something straight. We Africans are not the first and oldest people here on the planet. You can't say that. I'm going to tell you why you can't say that, because no human on earth can tell you how they got here. If you can't tell me how you got here, then you can't tell me about who's the oldest people. Don't use that. We, as African people, originating in the continent of Africa, we're the first and oldest civilized people on planet Earth. You can say that, but not the world's first and oldest people. No, you can't say that, because you don't know how you as a human being, individually, got here on Earth as a human being. Your mother and father had a sexual intercourse. Your father released his sperm, and your mother's egg received that sperm. She incubated that egg for 9 months, until at the end of 9 months, out came a miracle, which is in the form of a baby. Okay? Now, during that 9 months of incubation, you cannot tell me when your eyeballs popped in, what month your eyeballs came in. You can't tell me when your foot, your toes, your arms, your legs, arms, and the fingers and so forth and so on came into being. You can't tell me that. So therefore, if you can't tell me how you got here on planet Earth as a human being, you can't tell me about anybody else, because you don't know nothing about yourself. So then the next thing, you cannot mention millions of years ago. You can't do that, because you have nothing to sustain that information. The question has to be, what alphabet did these people use 20,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago, as you claim? What alphabet did they use? Where did they live on planet Earth? So forth and so on. So you can't sustain that. The only thing you can do is to start in ancient Egypt, where civilization first began for all of humanity. So that's what I have to say about that.
But Dr. Williams, I've been saying it for a long time.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Even on this show tonight, you've been hollering about something 50 billion years ago, 50 million years. You can't do that.
Could I just do it tonight?
You do it all the time.
All right, Brother Yoel, come on in. I have been officially shut down.
Hey,
come on in, Brother Yoel.
I can't help you with. I can't help you with that.
My foot in the bat trap. Help me get my foot.
But I will say, going back to some other things that should be like Professor Williams mentioned, Anthony Browder's Egypt on the Potomac. There is also some similarities with respect to the Mississippi, and it having two tributaries flowing into it, just like Egypt has two tributaries flowing into it. And particularly with Illinois, we got a Thebes, Illinois. I don't know where he found his Thebes at, but we got a Thebes, Illinois, and we got a Cairo, Illinois. And then we have Memphis setting off of the Mississippi down there in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a lot of similarities here, you know. So, and then I also found out that they call the lower half of Illinois Little Egypt. Why? Right. I'm not sure all the details, but it has something to do with I believe the time in Egypt when it was supposedly a famine. I think they had a famine supposedly here in the lower half of Illinois. Excuse my voice, I'm getting hoarse here. But so you got a lot of similarities that need to be investigated, and that's why I said what he said is food for thought and grounds for further investigation with respect to what Horace Butler said. Because, again, it might be bigger than what we think it is.
All right. Well, let me get back to the young man that called in and see if he want to. Brother, you have anything else you want to add, man, before we go to this plug one more bring in?
Yes, sir. And hotep to Brother Yoel as well.
Yes, sir. Hotep,
from
brother.
Chicago. Hotep. All right.
Well,
so,
hotep.
Going to Professor Williams saying that we can't say what happened millions of years ago or even thousands of years ago, that Kemet, what he calls Egypt, is the root of civilization. But according to many scholars, many revered scholars, and even he recognizes that the land of Kemet was an amalgam of people traveling across the continent of Africa, coming to that spot from other places. There's references in the Metal Nature that Kemet was first founded possibly 2 million years ago, using the Metal Nature symbol of numerology, which I know Professor Williams and I have had a discussion about. Nobody deciphered the Metal Nature, but that's also debatable. So what I'm saying is that our ancestors did record some things. There's a lot of stuff that's underneath the Vatican. We know that. We know about the stuff that the Crusades and the quest for the Grail and all that, and the Knights Templar. We know about what they did. They raped the planet, taking our ancestral knowledge and hiding it away. More and more of this information is coming out in the Great Awakening, is getting our new scholars to looking at all of these various pieces and acting like detectives and putting it together. That's why we learn this from our great ancestors like John Jackson and Yusuf Ben Yoakin and John Clark and Sheikh Anta Diop. To take these parts and put them together like Anthony Browder, to be a memory recovery specialist, fill in the gaps so we have a true lineage of our story. And therefore, we may be able to place the Ice Age where it actually belonged and look at the significance of how the Caucasoid animal came into existence. Whether you're going to use the Yakub big head scientist theory, or you're going to use evolution, which I say they both go hand in hand. As we go on we get more and more of these clues and put more and more of this data together, we're going to have a complete story for our people. And it's up to presentations like this to keep bringing it to our people, to open up debate and start new quests. And I thank you for that.
Okay, well, I tell you what you do. Don't you hang up, and what we're going to do is take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the broadcast. And I certainly appreciate you calling in, man. Very intelligent and enlightening brother. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these millions of years I got. Dr. Williams and I already showed me you hit me in the head. But anyway, we'll be right back. Y'all hold on a minute, and we'll be right back. Just hold on a minute.
White Americans have a criminal history. They have a criminal nation. The nation is built on criminality and murder and exploitation. It is a part of their collective psyche. The United States is a mafia government. No one has done more damage and degradation and murder, rape, and robbery than Europeans. Yes. Therefore, in order to escape confrontation with their true criminal nature, they must accuse others of being criminals. What we call projection. They must become obsessed with the criminality of other people. And black folk become those other people, you see. What does Clinton Cox say? You called the Indians savages so you could behave toward them what? Savagely. That's the function of stereotyping, you see. If I call you a criminal, then I can treat you what? Criminally. I don't owe you justice. In fact, shooting you in the street is justice. We know you are already a criminal. Why should we bother to take you to trial? Yes, that's what it is. We're doing a service. We're saving the taxpayers money. What have we lost? A criminal? What are you complaining about? Yeah, this is the deal. What does it mean then? When you can become, then often people, in order to escape certain problems, become obsessed with other issues to the point where they don't have time or the energy or anything else to think about anything else. They don't see anything else. So I can forget my self-hatred. I can forget my self-alienation if I concentrate on how much I love myself. But this is a bad kind of love, you see. It's not the right kind of love. If I concentrate on what? How great I am. If I concentrate on making other people see what? How great I am. You see. And therefore, my 24 hours a day, I'm obsessed by projecting my what? Greatness. And I will, but that greatness is coming out of what? Hatred and inferiority. And since I'm greater than everyone else, I must make everyone else superior, in what? Inferior to me. In fact, I can only love people who attest to my superiority. I can only love a woman who 24 hours a day maintains my superior ego and states that she is in need of leadership and guidance. And I'm her leader. I may be emasculated in the world, but in my house, I'm the king. And at any moment she indicates that I have feet of clay, I shall use them to stomp her. Yeah, this is the kind of thing we have here. Yeah, and it goes the other way, too. You know, make me a goddess and lay at my feet all kinds of sacrifices. Yeah, yeah. Live through me. And any moment that you don't hold this up, I'm going to react with anger and call you all kinds of names and problems. That's the issue of narcissism. Then you have the phallic character. Flaunts his masculinity through success at work or conquest over women, constantly seeking confirmation of his potency. Identifies himself with his penis. Ultimately, though, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who's afraid of castration, who really thinks his balls have already been cut out from under him. Therefore, he needs a constant confirmation that he has them. Kind of reminds me again of the black and white video. What was that boy trying to grab down there between his legs? What are so many black men grabbing that all the time out there? Yes, seeing if it's there. Yes, where is it? In other words, then, that relationship can move into a master-slave kind of relationship. A relationship that tries to use and exploit other people. A relationship that, in a sense, duplicates the social relationship that the man has. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. And then you have people then who have a problem with lovability and are in constant need of reassurance. So what does this all imply? We don't have time to go into it all. What does it all imply? What does it roll out to be? It means then that if we are to transform the relationship between black males and black females and transform the nature of black life, period, we must transform the American system itself. Yeah, we can't get around that. Oh yeah, we have to if we are going to say that living in America, being black in America, creates a good deal of the problems that we have, then we must change America as a part of changing what? The problems. Now, it doesn't mean that we focus outside of ourselves, because one of the best ways of changing America is by what means? Changing ourselves. I've told you before that we are not only the creation of whites, we also create them. That they cannot be what they are unless we are what we are. And therefore, if we engage in self-transformation, we engage in the transformation of the nation and ultimately in the transformation of the world. This is what I'm saying again about an African-centered education. That more deeply than all, in terms of an African-centric education, is that we are not creating a revolution in America as much as we are creating a revolution in ourselves. But that revolution in ourselves is a revolution in America. And that's why we look at ourselves and transform ourselves. It means then that we must gain a perception of what is real. Maladaptive behaviors flow from the inability to operate in terms of what is real in the world. Where are we as African people? What is our real history? What is the real nature of this social system? And how does that reality intrude into our lives? We must come to know ourselves. If we do not know ourselves, we lose control of ourselves. We don't know why and for what reason we behave as we do. We must exercise control over ourselves. We must come to esteem ourselves and accept ourselves. To a good extent, the problems that we talk about all the time are problems that flow from people avoiding themselves, escaping their real selves, and creating mechanisms and machinations to facilitate their escape from themselves, and using other people and abusing other people in their escape from self-acceptance, in their escape from their real African selves as a people. And therefore, if we're going to stop abusing and using other people and using them as objects and so forth, then we must come back into self-acceptance and come back into reality. We must gain the ability to form affectionate relationships. And ladies and gentlemen, the ability to love and how to love is taught. In this system, we are taught that it's something that occurs accidentally and spontaneously. That is not true. Even romantic love, with all of its shivers up and down your spine, and all of this business about you can't eat and you can't sleep and, you know, you toss and turn all night.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to make an attempt to open up all three lines so we can get on down to the bottom of the nitty-gritty and go ahead on and move forward to the end of this broadcast. Young man at area code 312.
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Now, I have a question for you, and I need a yes or no answer. And the same question going to be asked to my other two guests. And then once you answer the question, just going on. Just be quiet. Make sure we ain't making a whole lot of noise back in the background. That go for everybody else, too. Here's the question. Are you ready?
Yes, I am, sir.
In your personal opinion, is America Egypt? Yes or no?
That's not an easy yes or no answer for me, sir. Egypt being a region of Africa, I can't say America is completely as Egypt. I would say that they could be considered twins in ideology, in structure, and in growth to a certain period of time. But I wouldn't say that all of the writing that was found in the land of Kemet was talking about these lands that we call America today. No, I can't say that.
Okay, well, in my personal opinion, I think that was the best escape I ever seen. But let me go on here to Brother Yoel. Brother Yoel, come on in.
Come on now. Why you gonna go and start something now?
No, I'm just asking a question, man. Now the young brother, that I just got to talk with, man, I ain't never seen nobody side step something that smooth. So I'm gonna ask you:
okay,
America Egypt? Yes or no?
I think the brother just I'll say the same things he just said, and I'll say that for the reason that I think that it's food for thought and grounds for further investigation. I think we'll say that Egypt could have been bigger than what we're looking at today. Who says it had to be that little scrap pot or sitting up in Northeast Africa? It could have been the territory of Egypt could have extended over all of the landmass that was once landlocked. Could have been all of that. Okay? All we know is that today is that it was at the Northeast, sitting in Northeast Africa. You know, that's what we've been taught. But what if it was the whole landmass? Because I tell you, when they talk about the empire of the Moors, that's a big piece of land. If you're talking about the empire of the British Empire, they count your land. They count this land, and it ain't nowhere connected to England. But they count this, and they count the British West Indies. So if they can count that, then Egypt could have been possibly the whole landmass at one time.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go up here to Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tarhaka.
All right. Same question. Is America Egypt? Yes or no?
Yes. Because they had no choice.
Can you elaborate?
Yes, they had no choice. I'm talking about the Europeans had no choice but to try to replicate ancient Egypt, and all the descendants of ancient Egypt are over here in this hemisphere also, you see. So they had no choice but to try to replicate ancient Egypt, because they had nothing in Europe to set up a model after some European or their so-called history. They don't have any history. Europeans do not have any known history of themselves. So therefore, they had to use something of greatness and steal the legacy of the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. Okay? So, yes, they did it. And like I said before, Tony Browder's book will indicate to the extent of how they tried to set up ancient Egypt over here in this hemisphere by the monuments and artifacts that was created around Washington, D.C. So they had no model from Europe to replicate this country to be a model after. Pick the greatest, the world's first and oldest civilization to replicate this hemisphere. And let me expound on something else. I always tell people about that word Kemet. When you use Kemet instead of ancient Egypt, you're shooting our ancestors in the foot. You cannot go to the world map, place on the world map of geography, can you pick out Kemet? That's number one. You cannot show me no artifacts that came from Kemet. You cannot show me no monument that came from Kemet. You cannot show me no art that came from Kemet. You cannot show me no writing that came from Kemet. Well, you said that the word Egypt is a Greek name. You're giving the Greeks too much credit. When the Greeks came into Egypt under the leadership of Alexander the Greek, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians who ran the government of ancient Egypt, terrorized and brutalized by these Greeks. Seeing that the Greeks were not going to leave Egypt, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians decided to learn the language of the Greeks. And in so doing, they put an alphabet to the language. The Greeks never had an alphabet because they were uncivilized, inferior, virtually dead savages. So therefore, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, our ancestors, learned the Greek language, put an alphabet to it, and the alphabet they put to it is known as the Greek alphabet. Now, when the Greeks asked our Melkite Coptic Egyptian ancestors, who are you people? The Melkite Coptic Egyptians, speaking Greek, said that Egyptos Egyptus. In other words, so therefore, the Greeks didn't use that word or coin that word. The word was coined by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians speaking Greek. Okay, that's number one. Number two, do not take ancient Egypt past 10,000 BC. You cannot do it. You cannot sustain anything beyond 10,000 BC. Nothing. Number three, the Meta-Natural hieroglyphics have never been deciphered. Read my book, page 147, in the Historical Origin of Christianity book. I will explain to you in about 5 pages why the Meta-Natural hieroglyphics have never been deciphered. I'll go a little further than that. I'll go a little further than that. I have right now, as I speak, a $10,000 award to give to anybody of any race, creed, or color that can decipher one hieroglyphic that was the symbols and signs that was drawn by our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians during the time of antiquity, that is known to us today as the Meta-Natural hieroglyphic. I'll give you $1,000 for each symbol that the ancient Egyptians have drawn over there during the time of antiquity. I'll give you $1,000 for each one. That's my challenge to anybody. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, now, Dr. Williams, in your personal opinion, how long, in your opinion, how long have the descendants of the ancient Egyptians been in America?
How long what now?
Have the descendants of the ancient Egyptians been inside of America, or the land that they call it America?
Well, you don't know that. All I know is that they were here when the Europeans came over on during the time of Columbus coming over here.
Okay.
1482. Now, the date and time that they were here, I can't give you that because it's not recorded.
Okay, so
when, in your personal opinion, when can I say something about 250,000 years again? When can I use it again?
When can you use what?
When can I use saying something about 250,000 years ago?
You can't use it. What you going to, who's that? You.
Okay. All right, well, let me go back down here and open up this brother line down here. I was just checking. Young man, 312, you still with us, man?
Yes, I am, brother. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
In your opinion, who are the oldest people on this land called America?
Well, once again, you asked me in my opinion.
Yes,
so
sir.
if I start doing
the
sidestep, you ain't gonna get on me about sidestepping now, are you?
No, I ain't got on you the first time. I just told you how smooth you was.
I'm gonna try to be just as smooth.
I ain't getting on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be just as smooth. The oldest peoples, I would call Kemetic youth. And I know, once again, Professor Williams said that we didn't decipher the Metal Neter. I understand, but Hotep to you also, Professor Williams. And last time I saw you, you told me Hotep. That wasn't deciphered either, but we ain't going to get into that. However, according to anthropological studies and migrations of people, the Twa and Mbuti people traveled all over, possibly Pangaea, and all over the land masses that we call these continents of today. Anywhere from 500,000 to upwards to upwards of 500,000 to 250,000 years ago. That reference that you say about the skeletal remains that we have. That the archaeological record, and this is what I was talking about with science. Our science is rooted in what can be proven, what you see.
Right.
So if you dig down and you find skeletons, well, it means somebody was living here at this time when this layer of soil or stone was laid down. That's how land mass is built up, a sedimentary process. So if you can estimate or extrapolate the amount of time that it takes to make these stratus, then you can pretty much tell, date, without carbon dating, when these bones or these artifacts were laid down. There is evidence of people being here on this landmass of America 250,000 years ago. Now, what would those people be? They would have to be black. You'd have to look at the fact that the Caucasian animal, we don't find any of his DNA or his skeletal remains anywhere on the planet until roughly about 6,000 years ago, after the Ice Age and the Roman Ice Age, which you just debate about as well. That's what I'm saying. We can't. We have to use all of what we know. We can't keep going back on and relying on old knowledge, because new things are being found every day. I mean, up until recently, we taught about this the Exodus out of Egypt. Well, guess what? Science and the theologians all know now that enslavement period of Kemet never happened. So if you can throw away the enslavement period in the Bible, you can throw away the whole book of Exodus, and therefore your second book of your Bible falls apart. Your Bible falls apart. You have to reevaluate the knowledge that was built on. You know what I'm saying? And then use the new things that you learn. Use the new knowledge. You can't close your mind to the new knowledge, because there's so many things that have been stolen from us, repackaged, renamed, and not fed back into us, forced back into us to make us believe instead of knowing. And that's where my quest has been, to try to know so I could tell the truth. So if anything, I could play the devil's advocate and bring up debate to have more of our people thinking instead of just knee-jerk reacting and y'all's amassing. We don't need no more of that. We need thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
So, there were Africans. There was Africans here that came here either before the continental shift and settled here or after the continental shift. And the evidence is that our ancestors traveled back and forth across the lands after the continental shift on boats, trading and interacting with our family all over the planet in peace and harmony. There were squabbles, but it wasn't any wars or anything like that. We have to look at that existence and see what it was rooted in. A knowledge that came from Kemet, but before it was Kemet, came from Kush. There was no maps to say Kemet. Yeah, but guess what? Where is the ancient map that says a Kebulon? Is there a map that says a Kebulon before 3000 BC? No. Yet we still call land masses by the names that came up afterwards. So I think that there's going to be more and more research, more and more digging. We're going to have more and more evidence of Tamari. We're going to have, just like I saw in the Metal Nature, Afraka, denoting the landmass that is now called Africa. But it was, when you look at what the Metal Nature, Af, Ra, and Ka mean, you understand why they would name that land Afraka. We have to get into the thinking of our ancestors in order for us to decipher these millions and millions of clues of evidence of who and what we are. And it's happening. It's happening. It's time for the gathering. It's time for the gathering of information for our people to come together, set about a plan to keep teaching the truth, keep learning the truth, and not be afraid to say, no, I don't agree with that, and having an open debate and discussion. Therefore, new ideas can come forth. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, somewhat, but the debate part, I don't deal with that part right there. I know you have some knuckleheads out there. I just wish you get you talking. And then I come in and just politely lay it out. You know, keep peace. I'm going to go down here, and I appreciate your answer. That's very, very good, man. Thank you so much, and I'm in agreement with what you just said. But I have another question for my brother Yoel. I'm going to open up his phone line. Brother Yoel,
yes, sir.
I know you're trying to get in there and get in bed and take a rest. But one more question. In your personal opinion, who are the oldest people on this land called America, in your personal opinion? I think that's a fair point.
Africans. And some Europeans already know that. And they call them the Olmec people. Some call them by different other names. You know, but the Africans were here already. Been there, done that.
So in your personal opinion, because I know there's a distinction. I know that this for a fact personally, because I have ran into Africans in the 20th century since I've been alive. And they have a distinct look, and my look is different from them. They think it is different. So you don't think that there is another people who look just like me that were here that did not come from the interior of the continent called Africa. We were not, we was already created here on this land. So now we got Australians now, and we got the oldest people in China look like me and you. The oldest people in the Philippines look like me and you, because I've been doing this investigation. It's been about 3 months, and I'm just scratching the surface, and we're dealing with everything. We're bringing in all the heavyweights, even all the way down to Jacques Cousteau, and everything, underwater, the underwater reef, geometry, geography, the whole nine, in order for us to create this curriculum for people who look like me, minus any college or university on the face of the earth. So what you think about that, man? People who look like me, who have no record of anybody coming from Africa, we have always been here, and this has been my land. As far back as I can dig, and even went down south to my grandfather's place where him and his brothers at, man. You ought to see the land. It is magnificent. So I'm trying to ask you this question. Who are the oldest people on this land called America in your person?
Well, let's
I ain't taking away from Africa now.
Let's go back to when the land was locked. What makes people think that Africans weren't sitting on all over that landmass when it was all locked together, landlocked? So what makes them think that nobody was sitting on the west side of that landmass while the drift was even taking place? We didn't always. I don't believe that we had to always. We always had to get in a boat and sail over here to see who was here. I think there was already some people when that drift was taking place was all sitting on a piece of landmass. So hence you were already sitting on it before anybody else showed up here, and that includes the so-called Native Americans, in my opinion. I think you were the Native American. I don't think that there's anybody on the planet older than us. Mm-hmm. That's my thought, of course. But who is there? Who is there any other people that can step up to the plate and actually engage in conversation and tell us that they were equally just as old, if not older? The Native American, can he step up to the plate and have a discussion with us and say, hey, look, y'all, where y'all Africans get this notion from that y'all was here first? We were here first. Well, that whole thing, we know there's a lot of voodoo involved in that whole experiment, and putting them up here out there as if they were the people that were here first. We got your $5 Indians, we got the Doss thing, we got that guy, the white boy out of Virginia who first started calling us Negroes, or start calling us Negroes and all that kind of stuff. All of that has to be something that they'd have to challenge if they want to say that they were the first. And how come that conversation ain't been had already? I think it's because nobody wanted to challenge that, even the Native Americans. Just like the Jews don't even want to debate whether or not they were the people of that book they call the Bible either. They don't want to have that debate because I don't think that they can prove that they are. So likewise, when it comes to this landmass here, it looks like with all the names here associated with it and all the things that are showing up, all the the cover that's being pulled back with the information, the new information, as Brother Lou was saying, is coming up. It's interesting as it unfolds, and it still seems to point back at you folks, your folks, being here, and the structures and all of that kind of stuff that are here, it seems to you seem to have something to do with. So that's my answer.
All right. All right, I'm going up here to Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, you want to elaborate on that question?
Well,
as Brother Yoel, who?
I answered that question earlier. Okay, that question is not going to take us anywhere. We are not the oldest people on this planet. I keep saying that. We as an African people.
In your opinion, who's older than us?
You can't tell the world and name the oldest people before us. We have the oldest civilization and the world's first and oldest civilization. Again, I'm going to tell it to you again. Until you can tell me how you got here as a human being, then you cannot tell me when and who is the world's first and oldest people. Tell me how you got here first. Then if you can tell me how you got here, step by step, within the 9 months of incubation that you were incubated in your mother's body, you can tell me how you got here, then I'll believe what you're saying. But it doesn't.
Okay, let me. Maybe I need to rephrase the question. Could you, in your personal opinion, as far as you could see, what kind of possibility for another species of people to be on the planet that's darker than us?
That's what? That's what?
Darker than the African. Darker than the so-called black man that preceded him.
What's that got to do with reality?
I'm just asking you a question. Could have been, maybe it was a pink man, or maybe it was a white man, or maybe it was a light-skinned purple man that superseded the people darker than me or darker than the Africans that might have been here. In your personal opinion, do you see any kind of way it was possible for that to happen?
What did I tell you before? I'm going to tell you again.
Mm-hmm.
Until you, Tarhaka, or any human on this earth, tell me how they got here on earth as a human being, then you cannot tell me or hold a conversation with me about who is the oldest people on this planet. I keep telling you, you can only claim to be the oldest civilized people on this planet because our African ancestors, known as the ancient Egyptians, brought our civilization to this earth that we call the planet Earth. That's all you can do.
Okay, well that's fair enough, Dr. Williams. You're right. That's fair enough. And I have no right. I'm just going on the past year and a half of the deep research that me and my team have been doing worldwide and all in the ancient records and stuff, and I'll just keep pointing back to one color first and then everything else from that. But there may be a pink African somewhere, and we're going to keep digging until we find it. But anyway, hold on a minute. Let me go down here, and we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and then I'll open up the line to my illustrious young brother that called in. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the number to call in is 515-605-9755. And tell us who you are,
we
where
are
you call us from,
killing each
and
other
we'll open
in
up the
order
line
to maintain this system. We have let ourselves become possessed by a spirit such that when we become aggressive, we aggress against the self instead of those who are the source of our aggressive orientation. We talk a lot as a people about self-hatred. Self-hatred is a personality configuration. It is a form of personality organization. It is an orientation toward the world and towards oneself. Self-hatred, then, is the white man's greatest protection against being destroyed by the black man. To a good extent, self-hatred is the white man's defense mechanism. is the white man's form of self-defense. How can we say that? To a great extent, one function of the personality is to direct energy, to direct aggression, to channel aggression and energy and wishes and impulses in particular directions, to organize feelings, to organize energy, to achieve certain ends. Those things that we hate, often then when we are angry or hostile, we aggress against them, don't we? We attack them often. We destroy them. Then we have a problem, don't we? If we attack the things we hate, if we attack the things toward which we hold hostility, when we are overly frustrated and when we are angry, then what happens if that thing we hate is ourselves? It means then, ladies and gentlemen, that when we become frustrated and angered as a people, when we are overwrought by feelings of hostility, and our self-hating personality seeks to channel that hostility and channel that aggression, it's going to channel the aggression right back on to the self, because that's the thing we hate most. So consequently, black anger then becomes a conduit for black self-destruction, for black self-defeat. The object of our hostile, aggressive feelings becomes ourselves. And you can see then how the white man is protected by that personality structure, right? While he stokes our anger, while he stokes our hostility, while he stokes our frustration, and while we get mad and we want to strike out, when we decide to strike out and aggress, we strike out and aggress against the self. And by doing so, he is left untouched and unscathed. And therefore, our self-hatred becomes his principal means of defending himself and of maintaining himself. One of the things that frightened him most about the Ferguson case was that Ferguson's self-hatred mechanism broke down. Unlike many deaf, dumb, and blind Negroes, he knew who his enemies were. And so when he got angry and hostile, instead of going out to drink himself to death, instead of going out to smoke crack and destroy himself, instead of going out to killing someone who looked like himself, instead of going out to commit suicide and put himself in a place to be destroyed by somebody else, he went directly to the source of his frustration. And this is what frightened those people. They were wondering how many more are there like that, and are they increasing? Yes.
Okay, we back. Ladies and gentlemen, open up the phone lines and let my guests get back in. We'll start with the young man at area code 312. 312, you still with us?
I'm still here, brother. I'm not going anywhere.
All right. What's your take? Let me know what you think on this last plug.
It was, well, you talking about Professor Amos Wilson?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can't, look, that man is the truth.
I have not heard one lecture or one thing that came out of his mouth that I could deny or refute. Not one. His take on human psychology, African psychology, the way of thinking, how our societies have been structured, how we've been indoctrinated is all 100%, all of it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the Twa people. I think you,
yes.
Let me see, I thought I was counting. I know you did it all 3 times. I heard you all 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But the average individual on the planet doesn't know anything about the Twa people, but it just so happened that we've been dealing with them here down for the past 3 months, and we are still going down into the nuts and bolts and wiggle pins, the everyday life, and all that we can get involved in the Twa people. And there are many, many more that we're dealing with. We've been in Egypt. Dr. Williams mentioned Tony Browder on the Potomac. We got him. We dealt with him for a month straight, but we got to get back in it. And what I want to do, if it's at all possible, is try to contact the brother and get him on the air, and so he can do his thing. And I didn't put his plug up, but I just thought I'd do what we was dealing with here today. But can you tell me, in your opinion, how the Twa people fit into what's going on this continent where we are today? If it's any connection. If there's no connection, just say there's no connection.
Well, there's definitely a connection. When we look at the scientific evidence of the humanity's origin in South Central Africa, it stands to reason logically that an organism or organisms would inhabit that area until their numbers got to be too large and they would move around. You know, like if you have 14 kids in your house, eventually they got to get out of there. So they're going to spread out. Same thing with the Twa and the Khoisan people. They went for greener pastures. They went to look for food sources that were more plentiful, more space, and just out of a basic curiosity of wanting to know what they're around, what other things are out there. I mean, that's a curiosity that is in every organism on this planet. So therefore, they would have taken the knowledge that they gleaned and amassed over the hundreds of thousands of years of being in Africa, and wherever they went, they take that knowledge with them. And that would be the knowledge base of their civilization. If they were to stay there and build a civilization, they would use that knowledge base as their basis for education and learning more about the environment. We have plants here on the North American continent that the only other place that they find these plants are in Africa. And so
cut. Wait a minute. How do you know that?
I do research also, bro. I do. Okay,
carry on, soldier. Carry on.
All right. I'm not just new to this. I'm true to this. So I try to back up when I hear things that catch my ear. I do research on it. So yeah, there's a number of plants here. There's no other place that you find them in the world but in Africa. So if people were traveling, and think about this, if you were to go somewhere thousands of miles away, you don't know what you're going to find there. You want to be comfortable. You want to have something that gives you some sense of comfort or security, something from home. So why not take a plant? Our ancestors are very rooted to nature. We know that we are nectar, and that as one, the melanin in our body is just like the chlorophyll in the plant. So we have a very deep connection to plant life. So it would stand to reason that maybe the African violet would have came across, not with the enslaved, kidnapped Africans that were brought here after the travesty of Cristobal Colon, but before then, we would have maybe some plants or some spores, because plants, some plants, when they seed, their seeds go into the air and they collect on things, and if you don't know you got that thing on, you go somewhere and that seed falls off. It may grow there hundreds of yards away or miles away. These things are not outside the realm of possibility. We know that the Scots and the Irish, their origins were the Twa. That's where you get the Lilliputians from. The little leprechauns. Yeah, there was the Twa. Their knowledge was the pot at the end of the rainbow. So, yes, the Twa came here. I have no doubt that the Twa came here. I have no doubt that Ursa Ra came here, the one that they call Ramses. Dr. Yusuf Ben Yochanan even gave evidence to that. There's another book, Ramses, Founder of America. That's not the actual name, but yeah, there's so much evidence that the people that we call Egyptians came here, back and forth over here to these shores, inhabited here, stayed here, civilized here. There's another book, The First Americans Were Africans, by Dr. David Imhotep, and he's got peer-reviewed evidence showing that Africans came here. We like Professor Williams said, you just don't know how long. The Caucasoid has messed with our timeline, our way of thinking about time so much that we still leaping years. You know, the sun ain't jumped up and down on outside of its regular occurrence. So why should we? And our ancestors didn't keep time the way we do nowadays. So Professor Williams said we can't go back to a civilization past 10,000 years, but that's still using the white man's chronology. When the science is showing that the flooding that occurred in that basin where what we call the Sphinx is, showed that there was a number of huge floods, and that it had to be built prior to 10,000 years ago. It had to. So like I said, like Brother Yoel and I have saying, this new evidence is coming out, new ways of thinking is coming across, more and more avenues for us to come up with the truth. So yeah, the Twa was here. The Twa was over here kicking it. They built, I believe that they built cities here that the Caucasoid tore down, just like they tore down Eredo, out of jealousy, envy, and spite, because in trying to be us, they realize they never will be us.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question now. This is a personal question.
Yes, sir.
What month you born in?
September.
Are you Virgo or
Libra?
You're Libra.
According to the European astrological, yes, I'm I'm Libran.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, you're all set. I'm gonna open up Dr. Williams, and he's Leo the Lion. We're gonna let Lion.
I know. I believe it. I know. We laughed about that.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
All right. Did you hear what this young man said?
Yeah, I heard what he said.
You in agreement with everything he said?
No.
All right. Well, let us know what's happening from the Lion's position.
Well, you see, here's the thing about it. Like I said before, you cannot sustain anything past 10,000 BC. The oldest, first and oldest civilized people, that's their starting date. And you cannot sustain anything beyond that, because you got to, if you do, show me the people that came before people of ancient Egypt, those Africans of ancient Egypt. Show me, point to me some people prior to that, and give me evidence by way of facts that these people actually existed. Okay, that's number one. Number two, again, you cannot say who's the first, who's the oldest people on this planet. Can't say that. Because you don't know anything about yourself. You go off into different races in their land areas, such as Chinese. You find black people, and Indians. You find black people, and you find black people here and there. But you relate those black people to Africans, being Africans coming in that land area. All right, now I've asked this question. I've asked it to you, Tarhaka, and everyone else. At what time in your conscious mind that you, Tarhaka, Amana El Bey, found himself conscious on this planet Earth? And I think you told me that you found yourself at 3 years old. Is that correct, Tarhaka?
Yeah, and I got 2 more callers with the hand raised. You're right.
Okay, okay. So now you found yourself at 3 years old living on planet Earth in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and you found yourself belonging to a certain race of people, right?
Right.
So now, from 0 to 3, you have no conscious memory of Tarhaka, do you?
No.
Is that right? You don't have no conscious memory. So therefore, you found yourself in America belonging to a certain race of people. The same thing with the people of China. They found themselves in China as Chinese. People of India found themselves in India as Indians of India. The European found himself in Europe as a European. So until you can solve that mystery, then you have nothing. You have no foundation. You can talk all you want, and you can believe certain theories, and you have a right to do that. That's your right. But I don't have to agree with it. But that's what I have to say about that. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, Dr. William, I appreciate you bringing that in. I'm going to go down here to our new caller at area code 334. Let me bring them in. Area code 324. You're on the air.
Yes.
334.
Yes, John Thompson here from Alabama.
Hey, John Thompson. Where you calling from, man?
Alabama, Ozark, Alabama.
Okay, let us have it, man. With you on the air, the whole world listening to you.
Okay, what I want to ask, I heard you guys tonight say that we was here and the Indians before Columbus. Now, how do we search out to know that to be a fact? That's my question.
See, ask the question one more time and
okay,
loud and clear so we can hear you.
Okay, my question is, I heard you guys say tonight that we was here and Indians was here before Columbus came here and said he discovered America. How can we back it up with facts and prove that to be true?
All right, so I'm going backwards. Just hold on a minute. I'm going to let this brother, and keep in mind we ain't got but 10 minutes now. So, young man, come on in here.
Yes, I'm here.
312. You ain't got but a couple of minutes because I got to let Brother Yoel in, and then we're going to Dr. Williams so we can settle this matter. You heard the question. Let's go.
Yeah. There's a book, The First Africans Were Americans by Dr. David Imhotep, where he has peer-reviewed evidence showing that black people were here long before Columbus. long before those people that you call Indians. That we have artifacts and skeletal remains showing that there were black people here in up to 1000 A.D. From 25, like the brother said, 250,000 years ago up to 1000 A.D., which is before Columbus. Even the Vikings, the ones that they called Vikings, came here and described people that were here, that are being black, woolly-haired people. So there's a lot of evidence showing that. It's just that they're not going to teach it to you in your school.
Okay, thank you. Let me go over here to Brother Yoel. Come on in, Brother Yoel.
Okay.
Help the last call out, man.
Well, let me just say that to just chime in a little bit on something, symbols that you need to pay attention to. If you notice in the Aztec symbols of their calendar, in the center of that calendar, you got a little guy, a space in there with his tongue out, right?
Uh-huh.
And that guy with his tongue out is the same guy over in Egypt called Best with his tongue out. They look like twins. Why is that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. The other thing is there's a book called The Lost Treasures of King Juba by Frank Joseph. And he's an anthropologist, and he's he was digging here actually in Illinois. And he said he found pyramids and artifacts of artifacts that are African in Illinois. And they wanted him to stop digging because he was messing, of course, that he was messing up their story.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then they came before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima, sir, and even Lerone Bennett, the book Before the Mayflower also. But, it's still lots more stuff, evidence has been uncovered or that's still hidden. So stuff is slowly coming out right now. That's all.
All right, we have to stop right there because we got another caller down here with a hand raised at area code 314. Open up the line and because Dr. Williams is going to have to come in. Come on in. 314. Who you are? Where you calling from? Let me have it.
This is Yankee. How you doing?
Fine, man. What you got to say, man? We ain't got
on this argument here.
Down.
Black Americans were not these folks that you're talking about. How could they be? Look at Muhammad Ali. He went to find his other biological tree in Ireland. Alicia Keys, Irish. What's that other? Maria Carey, Irish.
So there was no,
a human.
You're saying there was no black people already here.
Well, what do you call black? You go if you look at Alicia Keys. Is Alicia Keys
colored people?
Is Alicia Keys?
Your phone breaking up real bad, Pianki.
Yeah, is Alicia Keys?
You're breaking up real bad. Can't hear you.
I said, is Alicia Keys Wesley Snipes complexion?
You're breaking up.
Let me call you right back. We got time.
All right. Hurry up now. Hurry up. All right, I'm put you on 314. Dr. Williams, come on in, man.
Okay, what you want me to say?
Shoot, man, so many callers hit me at one time, I almost forgot on the last point that we was talking about.
Well, I don't made my points, but see,
okay.
If an individual does not want to hear something new, that individual does not want to grow. See, so
okay, all right, we got that.
Green in the face, but what I'm talking about, if it doesn't make a change in their thinking, then I haven't done I haven't gotten over to that person. So if you're going to still
hold on, let me get the last caller to call back in. Hold on, let me get him in. All right, 314, you back on.
I'm back on. No, a humanoid is what they are. What they are is where they just came from. So when Asians came across the Bering Straits, they had where they came from. They had been there for probably 1,000 years. They weren't what they were before they got there, according to DNA sequences.
But who were when they came across? Was there anyone on this continent? The Greeks,
yeah, it was. It was
when
some
they
Aztecs.
came across.
It was some Aztecs. Because they went down to South America and they warred with the Aztecs. The Aztecs warred with the Mayans.
Where did they come from?
Who knows?
They
probably came across. They came across the same straits. They came out of Asia also at an earlier time.
If we had one landmass, so what you are saying is that these people here from Asia were here prior to any Africans ever being here, right?
You talking about when you had one landmass called Plancea? What time frame was that? There probably wasn't even no humans at that time.
Okay, well, so my understanding is this.
The first human
this is what I'm getting from you. The landmass that we call America and Asia was attached to it, and Africa was attached to this continent. And you're saying that the Asians were here prior to the Africans, right?
No, I'm here in America. It would be how did they get here? If they came across, if they came across the Bering Straits, they was Asians that came across the Bering Straits.
Okay.
What did they before they got to Asia? Where did they come from? Well, you're talking about 1,000 years. They was not what they were where they came from originally.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the way it is. When human beings move to another geographic area, they adapt and evolve.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have
it's
to.
Just like, I give you an example. A real quick example. I'm gonna give you a real quick example.
Wait a minute now, because we got to close down. We got 1 minute.
I'm gonna say this real quick.
I'm gonna close down and get my guests to come in. Dr. Williams, Brother Pianki on, man, and we gonna have to close the show down. But you got any last comments?
Yeah, call me up. I'll talk to you. You got my number.
We got 90 seconds. Come on, Dr. Williams.
Okay, well, the only thing I want to leave with the people is that you can purchase my books. The 2 books that I've written. It's called The Historical Origin of Christianity, written 29 years ago, and also The Historical Origin of Islam, written 19 years ago. And both books carries a lot of information, for you to read, and so you can understand and grow with that information in both books.
Okay.
You can purchase those 2 books from your local bookstore or on Amazon, or you can call Brother Yoel, who has a bookstore in Chicago, the Underground Bookstore, and the phone number there is 773-768-8869, 773-768-8869. You can order both of my books there. And also, the people who are interested in purchasing the Great Debate tape can order that through you, Tarhaka. They can purchase that tape through you. So that's what I have to say.
All right. Brother Yoel, come on in.
Yes, sir. I thank you very much for the conversation and tonight's lecture. I said thank you very much for tonight's conversation, and you continue to allow people to hear these kind of discussions. So that's all I have to say. Professor Williams has given everybody everything they need to know about where they can find his books and me if they want to get books.
Now, let me
fantastic, man. I appreciate y'all all being here.
They have
and
a criminal
nation.
The nation is built on criminality and murder and exploitation. It is a part of their collective psyche. The United States is a mafia government. No one has done more damage and degradation and murder, rape, and robbery than Europeans. Yes. Therefore, in order to escape confrontation with their true criminal nature, they must accuse others of being criminals. What we call projection. They must become obsessed with the criminality of other people. And black folk become those other people, you see. But as Clinton Cox say, you call the Indians savages so you can behave toward them what? Savagely. That's the function of stereotyping, you see. If I call you a criminal, then I can treat you what? Criminally. I don't owe you justice. In fact, shooting you in the street is justice. We know you are already a criminal. Why should we bother to take you to trial? Yes, that's what it is. We're doing a service. We're saving the taxpayers money. What have we lost? A criminal? What are you complaining about? Yeah, this is the deal. What does it mean then? When you can become, then often people, in order to escape certain problems, become obsessed with other issues to the point where they don't have time or the energy or anything else to think about anything else. They don't see anything else. So I can forget my self-hatred. I can forget my self-alienation if I concentrate on how much I love myself. But this is a bad kind of love, you see. It's not the right kind of love. If I concentrate on what? How great I am. If I concentrate on making other people see what? How great I am. You see. And therefore, my 24 hours a day, I'm obsessed by projecting my what? Greatness. And I will, but that greatness is coming out of what? Hatred and inferiority. And since I'm greater than everyone else, I must make everyone else superior, in what? Inferior to me. In fact, I can only love people who attest to my superiority. I can only love a woman who 24 hours a day maintains my superior ego and states that she is in need of leadership and guidance. And I'm her leader. I may be emasculated in the world, but in my house, I'm the king. And at any moment she indicates that I have feet of clay, I shall use them to stomp her. Yeah, this is the kind of thing we have here. Yeah, and it goes the other way, too. You know, make me a goddess and lay at my feet all kinds of sacrifices. Yeah, yeah. Live through me. And any moment that you don't hold this up, I'm going to react with anger and call you all kinds of names and problems. That's the issue of narcissism. Then you have the phallic character. Flaunts his masculinity through success at work or conquest over women, constantly seeking confirmation of his potency. Identifies himself with his penis. Ultimately, though, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who's afraid of castration, who really thinks his balls have already been cut out from under him. Therefore, he needs a constant confirmation that he has them. Kind of reminds me again of the black and white video. What was that boy trying to grab down there between his legs? What are so many black men grabbing that all the time out there? Yes, seeing if it's there. Yes, where is it? In other words, then, that relationship can move into a master-slave kind of relationship. A relationship that tries to use and exploit other people. A relationship that, in a sense, duplicates the social relationship that the man has. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. And then you have people then who have a problem with lovability and are in constant need of reassurance.
Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to The Great Debate by Dr. Walter Williams. He single-handedly laid out the facts in this powerful debate against Mr. Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Chester Blair, a prominent lawyer in Chicago, Illinois, and Reverend Henry Hardy, a prominent minister in Chicago, and Prince Azio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. This debate was hosted by a retired policeman named W.L. Lillard. Now, the whole thing was a setup by Lillard and his gang, but it didn't work. They brought what they believed to the table, but Dr. Walter Williams brought what he knew for a fact and what he could prove and laid it on the table. We are now in the age of knowing. The age of walking around believing in stuff is over. For your copy of The Great Debate, go to TarhakaDataElimination.org. That's TarhakaDataElimination.org, or contact me by phone. My number's on the website. Oh, and by the way, the lawyer got bust up too. The Great Debate. Get your copy today. Good day and peace.